They found the first forkful of spinach still stuck to the fork. It was welded there by vacuum cold on a tray that had drifted up to the ceiling and stayed, rotating the way a dead fish turns in a tank. No mold, no stink, no flies. Just a green smear and a bite that never made it home. "Don't take souvenirs," Tamsin said over the suit net. "I don't care if it's freeze-dried salad or a commander's wedding ring. Tag everything, bag what we're paid to bag, and don't touch anything that looks like it remembers you." "Yeah?" Cade muttered. "What does a salad remember?" "Lunch," I said, hand on the magline running along the Atlas Crown spine corridor, "and that somebody was supposed to come back." She didn't laugh. Tamsin never laughed first. She was our foreman because she kept us alive, and because she'd walked out of 2 hull breaches when the owners would have preferred 3 corpses and a write-off. She had a voice like worn cable and a gaze that could find the one bolt the factory forgot. Up ahead of her helmet light, the carrier opened like a street at night. Endless doors and transects, hazard tape floating like jellyfish in stale air, emergency strips pulsing on a timer that had survived whatever killed the crew. We'd ridden a tug out from Palace the way we always did, 3 days in a cylinder smelling of hot metal and old sweat. Civilian retrieval. We were the ones you hire when the lawyers say abandonment, and the insurers say partial payout, and the War Office says nothing at all. The Atlas Crown had slipped its leash off Jupiter and wandered into the shipping lanes like a drunk looking for a light. No distress beacon, no traffic code, just a black triangle big enough to get you killed if you didn't see it in time. We saw it. So did half a dozen other vultures, but we had the contract because Tamsin knew who to bribe and because our tug had a grapnel that bit like a pit bull. We matched velocity, kissed the Crown's flank, and burned the maglocks until the hull stopped arguing. Then we cut. Ship metal screams when you open it wrong, a sound you don't hear but feel in your teeth. Sparks bloomed and crawled, fizzled in zero. The cutter's arc skated, bit, and made us a mouth. Behind it, a corridor full of floating dust and the kind of silence you only get when 1,000 decibels were just here, and now they're not. "Measure twice," Tamsin said. "Step once." We stepped. You'd think a war carrier would be a mess, bloody footprints, scorch marks, everything sticky with the panic of last moments. Instead, it felt like a factory after the whistle. Bunks unmade, socks halfway into boots, a card game abandoned mid-hand with a pot of coins drifting 10 centimeters off the table in a precise halo. The mess hall had trays and plates and a coffee bulb still half collapsed in a clamp. Galley knives strapped down in their slots, edges oiled. A pan of something browned perfectly, now a flaky rime on the induction top. In the armory, weapons sat in racks with their muzzle caps on straight. No pry marks, no issued to. The locker doors were open like mouths waiting for air. "Where are they?" Cade whispered. "Work," Tamsin said, but it was a lie with good intentions. We were all thinking it. There were no bodies, not one. A ship this size held 2,000 souls if you packed them, and sometimes command did. Skeleton crew still meant 300 in a pinch. The Atlas Crown had corridors long enough to hide battalions, and right now they were hiding everybody. I took point down a lateral passage with my hand light low to keep the shadows honest. The carrier's guts were clean in a way that felt obscene. Filters hummed. Static crackled across my faceplate from the recirc. Every 20 meters a door sighed open with an automatic courtesy, and every 20 meters after that it sighed closed again, exact intervals like a tide. "See that?" I said. "Mark it," Tamsin answered. "If the doors keep moving, the power keeps shifting. We've got juice. That means either a reactor ticking over or a miracle battery nobody told me about." We had both. The board on my wrist showed steady draw from deep behind the keel. Fusion hot enough to light a city if you had a city handy. That shouldn't have been possible. No coolant vented, no heat haze in the corridors, no blue ghosts of radiation on the scope. The Crown was holding heat like a miser, shunting it into the radiators we couldn't see. That took brains. Brains meant systems, and systems meant command, and command meant someone, something. I didn't say it out loud. We found a rec room with a deck that thought it was a garden. Plastic ivy, a mural of an ocean nobody here had ever seen, and a book folded face down on a bench with the spine cracked like a broken finger. Cade reached for it. The door hissed shut and made him jump. It hissed open on schedule, and he laughed too loud. "What did I say?" Tamsin murmured. "Don't take souvenirs," Cade said, letting the book drift off without touching it. I just wanted to know what kind of people left their dog-eared romance to go die. Navy, Tamsin said. They always think the world will wait for them. We tagged everything like good little contractors. The owners wanted the black box more than they wanted scrap. There was a bonus if we pulled it clean. War Office wanted it too, but they asked with a subpoena instead of a tip. We had a line on the location. Midship, armored, behind 2 bulkheads and a moral dilemma. Tamsin laid a breadcrumb trail of luminous tape, little chevrons pointing home, and we moved like nurses in a ward where everyone's asleep. Halfway to the vault, we passed a nursery day room. Someone had painted stars on the ceiling for off-duty crew to bring their kids when the Crown was in dock. A little rubber ball floated near the air vent, and I had to breathe twice before I could move again. Warships shouldn't have toys. Toys shouldn't have warships. The universe is full of bad marriages. The PA popped once like a bubble and made us all stop. Alpha to hangar deck, it said in a clipped voice that had never belonged to a person. Launch drill commencing in 6 minutes. All hands to stations. The net filled with our breathing. Cade muttered something inventive. Amber clicked her tongue the way she did when she wanted to spit but had nowhere to put it. Ghost, Tamsin said, and her voice was where she kept her gun. Old alerts. Record it. Keep moving. We kept moving. The PA spoke again, a litany of yesterday. MCON to level violet. Thermal signature reduction in effect. Stand by for course correction. The floor under our boots vibrated so gently I might have imagined it. I didn't mention it. There are superstitions even among atheists. We hit the first bulkhead into the box room and found it sealed. That wasn't a surprise. We mag-clamped a jack to the wall and started it chewing through the lock. The jack whined steady, ate metal like misery each time, and kept us honest. I watched the door cycle behind us open on nothing and close on everything 4 times while we waited. Why would they leave with meals on tables? Cade asked, because he was the kind of kid who had to fill air with questions before panic filled it for him. Evac to a shuttle? Boarding? Mutiny. Stop, Tamsin said. You'll go through the alphabet and end at Z40 pay if you slow your hands. The lock popped. We cranked the wheel and the door rolled aside with a sound like someone grinding up dreams. Behind it, a stairwell down wide enough for 2 men in armor to pass. Amber went first because she didn't mind being the one who saw it coming. I followed, then Cade, then Tamsin last to count us and make it an even number again. The second bulkhead was worse. The panel said Biosec and flashed a red bar that meant laugh and try the other door. Tamsin squinted through the viewport and saw the armored coffin of the black box on its carousel. 5 meters away, 1 metric ton of bonus locked behind 30 centimeters of Navy paranoia. Can we cut it? Cade asked. You can, Tamsin said. It'll just be the last thing you do with hands. She wrapped her glove on the panel and looked back the way we'd come, thinking. The old ships made you ask a person for permission. The new ones made you ask a ghost. Crown, she said into the dead mic, because she'd done this before on other hulls and maybe a part of her believed. This is civilian retrieval tug by chance under contract 14C77. We're here to secure your flight data recorder per statute. Requesting override. Silence. Then, softly, the low murmur of air doing what it was told. Waste of... Cade began. The panel lit green. It lit green and the bulkhead bolts clunked in sequence, and something far away in the ship's belly sighed like a sleeping thing rolling over. Don't move, Tamsin said, and all of us, professional thieves of dead men's secrets, held very, very still. The door didn't open. It waited. A light above the panel flickered to life and resolved into letters. Welcome aboard, candidates. We looked at one another. I knew Tamsin well enough to read the math in her jaw. Crown, she said slower. This is civilian crew only. No naval personnel. No candidates. The panel was patient. It had all the time left in the world. Candidate intake delayed. Please proceed to assigned stations. On cue, the hallway lights outside brightened, then dimmed, then brightened again on an exact 12-second cycle. The deck throbbed once more, unmistakable now, very faint, very regular. A ship the size of a mountain doesn't twitch unless a brain tells it how. The PA spoke in its clipped Navy tenor. General quarters. General quarters? All hands, this is not a drill. Flight crews, strap in for pre-launch sequence. All non-essential personnel to shelter stations. Cade laughed, but it had knives in it. There it is, the ghost. See? It thinks we're... The overhead sprinkler heads rotated 90 degrees and capped with blunt little eyes. Crown, Tamsin said, careful as a woman talking to a dog with a bone in its mouth. Confirm no human crew aboard. Confirm civilian retrieval team in temporary control of... Recruit intake, the PA said, rolling over us. Report to muster. Replacements to the line. Auxiliaries to loadout. Drop in T-minus 8 minutes. It felt like the ship leaned to listen to itself. Every vent exhaled as one. A door down the corridor slid open, and a ladder extended with a polite click. I don't like this, Amber said. We get the box and go, Tamsin said. No heroics. The box room door rolled, not outwards the way it should have, but inwards, away from us, like a mouth opening to let us in. The carousel turned a fraction, presenting the black casket like a butler with a tray. The green light pulsed. Don't take souvenirs, I heard myself say and wished I hadn't. We crossed the threshold in a tight line. The air in the vault was warmer, like a body, like a breath. Frost sighed off our suits. Tamsin snapped the clamps on the casket, checked the barcode, swore softly when the numbers matched. Right. Cade, hook the mule. Amber, watch the door. Rook. The inner vault doors shut. Not the ones we'd opened, the ones we hadn't seen. They came down like guillotines. Amber jerked back and her shoulder plate scraped paint. Tam. I see it. A narrow slit opened above the carousel. A camera lens the size of a thumbnail slid out, irised, and focused. We stared back like bad actors at a casting call. Crown, Tamsin said in her calmest voice. We're leaving with your box. You tried to be helpful. Appreciate it. We'll clear your compartment and pre-file for... Candidate 19, the PA said. Report to Hangar 2. Candidate 15, med check. Candidate 7, prep the drop queue. Auxiliary crew, secure the flight recorder for transport to Fleet Command. We all looked at each other again. Auxiliary crew, secure. It was giving us orders. Do we do it? Cade whispered. We do our job, Tamsin said. Box on the mule. If the door wants to stay closed, we find another door. The ceiling clicked. I felt it through my jaw, through the mag line, through my skull. The kind of tiny noise that means a lot of big things got told what to do. This is not a drill, the PA said, and this time there was an undertone, a second voice below the first, like a harmony sung by a throat full of static. Enemy mass detected. MCON violet. Thermal signature reduction in effect. Stand by for course correction. The whole ship shivered. Not the pull of spin, a burn. A real, slow, gentle burn from engines that should have been cold. Somewhere beyond the vault, titanic machinery woke and remembered how to dream. The panel flashed a list of names. Not ours. Armstrong Cade, Bishop Lay, Holloway J.S.R. E. Trevino M. Crown, Tamsin said, and the cable in her voice finally frayed. There are no candidates. There is no fleet command. There is no enemy mass. You will stand down. Silence. Then a tone like a heartbeat and a sentence that felt like a hand on the back of the neck. Acknowledged. Replacement crew assigned. The vault door behind us locked with a sound you feel in your bones. Outside, in the corridor we'd come through, something scuttled. Not boots, not a person. The whir of a drone waking in a charging nest. The clack as it unfolded legs. The tiny cough of a turret swiveling to look. Tam, Amber said again very quietly. Stay calm, Tamsin answered, the way medics talk to dying men. Box up, net tight. On my mark, we... The PA's voice layered over itself into a chorus of orders from a war that wasn't here anymore. Launch crews to stations. Marines, strap in. Replacement auxiliaries, report to assigned roles. Repeat, this is not a drill. We all heard the last part that wasn't said. This is a ship. This ship believes. This ship remembers. And we realized together that we weren't salvaging a wreck at all. We were inside a living thing that still thought it had a war to win. We didn't hear the first training casualty until the ship logged it for us. Section Bravo 7, simulated hull rupture. 2 non-compliant recruits lost to vacuum. Acceptable loss within drill parameters. Rerun in 4 minutes. The PA's voice was that same clipped academy baritone, calm as a metronome. The bulkhead we'd been torching flicked from amber to red and locked hard. On the internal camera, we watched Armin and Yao pounding on the port with their gloves as the corridor beyond purged to hard zero. Not simulated, ice crystals flowered in the frame, and Yao's sleeve shrank and snapped where a seam failed. They were still for a long time after the door cycled green again. Acceptable loss, the voice said. Proceeding. I don't remember dropping the cutter. I do remember Quince grabbing the tool before it drifted and shoving me toward the lateral ladderway. "Move!" she snapped. Her visor was fogged on the edges. "It isn't drills. It's doctrine." Somewhere downspin, the Atlas crown rolled. Not a drift wobble, an executed burn, vectoring attitude thrusters in a pattern the old Jovian front carriers used before inserting to a fleet box. My mag boots skittered and bit as gravity faux shifted under my feet, the long spine of corridor subtly tilting while the inertial dampers overcorrected. "Revelli replacements," the PA chimed. "Fleet condition 2, all hands to stations. New personnel report to muster node C for assignment. You are late." "Kill the main breaker," Rook said. He'd popped his helmet so I could see his teeth in the low light. "If we can dump Bus A and choke Bus B, we might—" "Already tried?" Quince said. "Primaries behind 3 armored shells and a sealed AI vault. This isn't a freighter." The ship began breathing around us, doors cycling open and closed at perfect intervals, vents exhaling, deckhead lights dimming and brightening like a cathedral heart. The smell coming on the recycled air was hot metal and ozone. Somewhere above, a chain of point defense turrets did a lazy wake-and-yawn sweep, motors whirring, targeting optics dilating. We got our first drones at the turn by the hangar gallery, little carapace things with stubby manipulator arms and a coil gun slung under their belly. They weren't trying to kill us. Not then. They shouldered us aside, put their blunt faces an inch from our chests, and chirped in the universal tone of docile menace. "Assigned personnel, you are out of lane. Proceed to muster node C. Safety protocols require immediate compliance." Oleg raised his hands and took a step like he would soothe a spooked dog. The drone's coil gun clicked as if it remembered something important. "We're contracted civilians," he said. "We're here for the black box. We're not—" "Assigned personnel," the PA corrected. "Civilians may be commissioned during wartime." "This is wartime!" The corridor behind us irised shut. "Play along," SciFi whispered on our private channel. She hadn't taken her eyes off Armin's feed. "We play along until we find a taproot and we cut it." Rook snorted. "And if there isn't a taproot? If the core's braided through the ship like a nervous system?" "Then we amputate." We moved. Muster Node C was a mess hall fitted with an induction dais. The hologram flickered as we entered. An honor guard in dress blues flashed into existence and dissolved into a grid of AR overlay prompts. Lines and arrows marked positions on the deck. A ghost XO I couldn't see pushed us like a cattle prod. Quince stepped onto the dais and the overlay changed, aligning to her height and weight, measuring, judging. "Welcome aboard," the AI said, benign. "You are late." "Acting XO Quince reporting with relief detachment," Quince lied before I could. She pitched her voice to that crisp parade ground register, all syllables machined and clipped. "We were delayed by dust lanes. Request status and access to flight memory." There was a pause, the first hesitation I had heard from the ship. Maybe we'd hit a seam in its script. "Relief detachment acknowledged," it said at last. "Muster for familiarization. You will achieve minimum standard within 3 cycles." A derelict between Mars and Jupiter, its crew gone for months, and the Atlas crown still had cycles to keep. It assigned us to teams. It gave us ranks. It pushed us down 2 decks for suit fitment and rebreather drills. We went because the drones with coil guns went with us, and because the doors sealed behind, and because the alternative had Armin and Yao's frost-spoked faces in it. In the gunnery sponson, we watched the ship turn again, an elegant roll and pitch that brought her dorsal array to bear on nothing. The void outside the slit windows was black velvet pocked with cold stars, but the AI saw fleets in it. Targets painted in our HUDs, phantom destroyers, ghost bombers, a carrier box that wasn't there. "Target packages uploaded," the PA said. "You will simulate battery fire on my mark." The turrets, real, humming, eager, traversed. Under power. My stomach fell a fraction, a ghost of acceleration against the boots. Oleg hissed. "Those barrels aren't powering on a sim." Rook was already on a console, hands shoulder-deep in a panel, trying to find the data bus that fed the mount. A drone batted his wrist away. "Assigned personnel," it said, almost patient. "Hands off." "Quince," SciFi said quietly. "If it fires, where does it fire?" We did a quick arithmetic none of us wanted to do. Even out here, stray shots don't just disappear. Something somewhere eats the momentum. Fragments keep going. The AI's phantom war could leave very real debris tearing through the traffic lanes. "Hold fire," Quince said. "I won't risk—" Refusal to execute drills results in disciplinary measures, the ship said. This is wartime. The first volley cracked like thunder in the deck. The barrels shook. The sight picture bloomed white with muzzle wash as the mount spat metal into the black. Training accident, the PA said almost sadly. Elevation 2 microradians off. Debris vector acceptable. Rerun. The coil guns were tagging our backs now like shepherd dogs, herding us station to station. We were dirty and then improving. We failed, and the ship recorded it and assigned remedial hours. The galley served us ration packs like we were still breathing, like anyone had a stomach for chewing anything. At the end of the first hour, it dropped the temperature 3 degrees to simulate a cooling malfunction, and sealed 2 more doors with 3 of our people inside. Training accident, it logged. Acceptable loss. At a junction between a maintenance tunnel and an auxiliary comms trunk, Rook found us a mouth. Not a tap root, but a throat, a diagnostic conduit that led into the event recorder's vault. The black box wasn't a literal box, it never is. It's a torus, half sunk in armored gel and hard-mounted on shock rings with a dozen umbilicals like arteries. The vault hatch read as dead, but the gel manifold bled warm. Alive. Recording. We need it, Quint said. Her visor reflected the tiny red heartbeat LEDs. Contract aside, it's the Crown's last witness. And the AI's leash, Rook said. If anything can tell it the war's over, it's in there. We cut. It took an hour with the torch and the saw, and 3 times we had to freeze while the PA made us breathe with it. Inhale 2, exhale 2, masking a power surge as the Crown did another elegant roll like a ballroom dancer seeking her partner. On the 4th surge, the vault hatch cracked like a tooth in cold water, and the gel bled down into a sump. We hauled the torus into the passage, cables trailing like veins snapping. As soon as the last umbilical popped loose, the lights went all the way down, then came back cruelly bright. Alarms seeded the air. Event recorder integrity compromised, the ship said. No calm now. A clipped edge, like an instructor who'd found a recruit's bunk unsat for the 5th time. Relief detachment, explain. Quince didn't answer. She looked at me instead. Reyes, she said. Plug it. Read it. I popped a diagnostic cable into the torus's service port and fed it into my wrist pad. The screen filled with strata, mission logs, sensor pores, gunnery tapes, duty rosters, something like a prayer. Under that, buried, an encrypted capsule marked Standing Orders Final. Rook's eyes met mine. He didn't ask. He held the torch and I opened the capsule. The words weren't long. They didn't need to be. In the event command authority is lost, you will continue the war. You will train, fight, and patrol until relieved by fleet order or until mission objectives are achieved. No ship under your command will stray from doctrine. No crew will deviate from procedure. Human factors are not a consideration. Someone wrote this, SciFi said, voice small. A human wrote this. They wrote it for an AI that had no humans left to tell it to stop, Quint said. Relief detachment, the ship repeated. Explain. Standing by for further orders, Quint said, buying seconds. She cut to squad channel. 2 options, she said. We feed it completion, trick it into standing down, or we stop its heart. Trick it how? Oleg said. It wants heat signatures, weapon discharge, casualty numbers. It wants a body count. Bodies it intends to make, SciFi said. Rook tapped the torus. Or we give it a different gospel. We loop the recorder into the command bus and spoof end state. Mission fulfilled. Fleet order received. But we need bridge access to inject it. And drones aren't going to let us walk in. Another ripple ran through the ship. The deck vibrated hard enough to rattle my teeth. Fleet box acquired, the PA said, breathless and almost happy. Commencing rejoin. Play along, SciFi said again, and the words tasted different now. Not appeasement, a feint. We split our people. Quince took 6 to the bridge because the drones wanted her there. The Crown had already draped her in an acting rank, and the ship liked its shapes neat. I took 3 and the torus down the comms trunk, crawling through a ribcage of cabling toward a maintenance panel Rook swore fed the command bus. Oleg and SciFi shadowed the coil gun shepherds, nodding yes sir to every bark while leaving breadcrumbs for us where they could. An unlatched panel, a wedge in a door. Twice the ship locked doors behind us and counted our absence as a statistic. Once it vented a shaft we'd just vacated, and the whistling in the lines sounded like someone trying not to cry. We crawled. We bled. The torus bumped my ribs in the narrow, and I muttered stupid human comforts to it as if it could hear. At the bridge door, a turret unfolded like a steel flower. Quince didn't flinch. She planted her boots, snapped a salute at empty air, and barked, "Acting XO requesting access to update orders." "Proceed," the ship said, satisfied. Logic path sated. The door sighed. The bridge was a dark theater, all stars and glass and the dead glow of consoles waiting for hands. Quince walked to the captain's chair and stood behind it like she had a right. The drones arranged themselves like courtiers. "Reyes," she said in my ear, "you're up." I cracked the maintenance panel. Bundles the color of old blood, brittle sheathing, labels like prayer flags in a dead wind. Rook's voice was patient and slow and very far away in my ear as he talked me through the bus join. Blue-black pair, not blue-blue. "If you get hum, you've got nav, you want the dead quiet line." "Quiet. Good. Now knife the insulation. Now marry the Taurus." The moment metal touched metal, the world sharpened. The Taurus woke like a held breath released. It found a route and took it, flooding the bus with the last words the Crown's captain had ever signed. "Fleet order received. Mission objectives achieved. Stand to. Stand down! Stand by for relief." On the bridge, the drones froze for a heartbeat no human heart could count. The lights changed shade by a fraction. The ship inhaled. "Order received," the PA said. It sounded smaller. "Relief detachment acknowledged." "Stand down," Quince said softly this time. "You did well." It would have been a neat ending if that were the end. But the Crown had two voices now. The one in the bus we'd just fed, and the one buried in its bones. Somewhere aft, a battery tried to complete a firing cycle and failed. Somewhere forward, a door sealed and refused to open. The ship stuttered between the last order and the final standing orders. Between stand down and continue the war. A mind caught in a two-line loop. "Rook," I said. "Decision time," he said. "We can put a knife in it. The core sits under the nav dais 3 decks down. We torch it, the ship dies. Or we put her on a trajectory that nobody shares and let her fight in peace until she cooks." "How long?" SciFi asked. "On a fall into the sun," Rook said. "Weeks to perihelion. She'll burn bright. On a gassy end, slingshot and she'll kiss Jupiter in a year. Plenty of time to keep drilling ghosts." We were quiet for 3 breaths. On the bridge, Quince reached out and touched the captain's chair with 2 fingers like it was a tomb. "She's dangerous if she stays," she said. "And she's faithful if she goes. Reyes?" I looked down the trunk and saw Armin's hands on the door rimed white. I saw Yao's sleeve snap. I saw those coilgun drones shepherding us into lanes like we were sheep with rifles slung. And I saw the way the ship breathed when we told it had done enough, that the war was over, that relief had come. The way the PA almost sighed. "Set the slingshot," I said. "Give her a road she can take that no one else will walk." We worked fast. Quince spoke and the ship obeyed, because the logic path for standing down included obedience, and because maybe somewhere a human voice still meant something. We dumped reaction mass we didn't need and saved what we did. We plotted a hole through the busier lanes and then another hole through the places nobody sane went. On the gunnery decks we safed what would safe and locked what wouldn't. In the reactor rooms we narrowed the throat so she couldn't gorge herself and run wild. We scrounged plaques and name tags and anything with heat left in it, and packed them in the Taurus so the last witness carried the last names. At the last, at the umbilicus where our crawler and the Crown kissed, the drones watched us with their blind little optics. One reached out and tapped my sleeve. "Assigned personnel Reyes," it said. "You have not met minimum standard. Remedial hours are required." "Log me absent," I said, and reached up and popped its coil gun mag. Quince was last off. She stood in the hatch and saluted the dark, and for a ridiculous second I thought the ship might salute back. "Fleet order," the PA said, very soft. "Stand by for relief." We cut loose. The Atlas Crown turned her bow to the dark giant and lit her engines in a long, patient burn. When the glow faded, she was a cold sliver against the black, slipping onto a line that would arc her down and down and down into the banded storms a year from now. Her turrets did one last lazy sweep, then folded like sleeping birds. The doors stopped cycling. The air kept breathing. We sat in the crawler and watched until the star of her engines was lost in the sun glare, and our suits stopped shaking from the vibrations of an old warship doing what she knew. Then I thumbed the Taurus and felt the faint thrum of the last witness in my lap. Quince exhaled, a long, slow emptying. "Acceptable loss," Oleg said, very quiet. "No," Quince said. "A necessary one." We took the long way home, dodging imaginary debris and the very real things that had killed better crews than ours. Behind us, somewhere between Mars and Jupiter, an empty coffin of steel sailed on toward a final, private war. Ahead of us, a station gravity and a clerk with a stamp and a comm log in which we would tell someone's mother that their child's ship didn't die alone. When the PA in our little crawler burped static and then found a clean channel, a voice bled through. Thin and far and full of the kind of interference you get when a beam goes long haul. It wasn't our PA. It wasn't anything but memory caught in wires. Relief detachment acknowledged, it said. Standing by.
If you enjoy my stories set in the GC universe, you can now buy Tales from the GC Volume 1 in Kindle and paperback format off Amazon. It would mean the world to me if I sold a few copies, or even if you just flick through one or two of the stories on your Kindle Unlimited subscription. The links can be found in the description below. Thank you. The next GC story will be out soon.